Probably tell from the media collective there, they are being followed by the next governor, the 88th governor of the state of Connecticut, Dannel Patrick Malloy. The governor walking, he can't resist shaking hands. This man is a born politician. In fact, a very close friend of his who's known him since his childhood said this is the role that he has been preparing for a lifetime. Dannel Malloy made 2 runs for governor, this one in 2010 successful. He can't resist talking to the crowd as he comes along, the governor escorted by his wife, Kathy Malloy. There's been some discussion about what her next move is going to be. He seemed to indicate she was going to come up to Hartford and leave her job at the Rape Crisis Center in Stamford, but now we're hearing she may stay. He was escorted, the governor and his wife, escorted by the Adjutant General of the National Guard for the state of Connecticut, Thad Martin. These, of course, are security detail cars, followed by the militia color guard. And you're starting to see some of the traditional uniforms now of the governor's foot guard. Those hats that we all know so well are known as busbies, and they are actually trimmed in bear fur and have the state seal on them. Here's Nancy Wyman with her grandchildren and her husband Mike, the constitutional officers now, her whole family walking along with her. And yes, you may have noticed she does parade in high heels. She's known for that. Denise Napier, the treasurer, Kevin Lembo with his family, the new comptroller, and George Jepson with his wife and his family, the constitutional officers. And now we have the governor's foot guard. This, by the way, is the oldest military unit in the United States, formed by, there we go, formed by veterans of the American Revolutionary War. They have actually sent members to every armed conflict since the Revolution. They were formed initially as an appropriate escort for the governor. They will actually be hosting, and they organized the inaugural ball that is going to be held tonight. And I was speaking to one of their commanders who has organized a number of these balls, and he says this will be the largest one they've ever been responsible for. They expect nearly 3,000 people at the Connecticut Convention Center tonight. Those tickets ranging between $250 and $175. Tables of 10, sit-down dinner. Now, as you can see, we have an above shot. This is from the atrium of the Legislative Office Building. You can see that the constitutional officers are heading to the Armory. The Armory is going to be the site of their swearing in. The only officer who's been sworn in so far is Nancy Wyman. As you saw, if you were watching CTN, or if you'll see in our rebroadcast, she was sworn in this morning in the State Senate. This is the West Hill High School Marching Band. This is the other high school in Stamford. And of course, Stamford being the hometown of the governor. He not only was born and raised there, but he was its mayor, coming back to be the mayor of Stamford after a few years away when he served as an assistant district attorney and prosecutor in Brooklyn, New York. Dannel Malloy is one of 8 children, and 7 of those children still live in Stamford. And now we see the governor's horse guard. At one time there was some concern about whether they'd be able to bring the horses, only because we did have a snow squall and it could have been slippery footing, but that cleared up within about 35 minutes or so, and the pavement is now nice and dry. There are 2 companies of the governor's horse guard, the first company and the second company, one based out of Avon, one based out of Newington. And this really, although they are frequently seen in ceremonial positions like this one. They are frequently seen in parades, not only the inaugural parade, but other parades. But they also actually perform other services at the behest of the governor. They've been known to be called in occasionally for search and rescue missions. The horses are all donated. Each of these horses has had a previous life. And some of them have come from the horse show rings, some have been pets. There are a couple of draft horses. There actually is a horse with the first company who was previously in another life a racehorse. And as you see, the two companies have different uniforms. They're allowed to choose their own uniforms, but they do go back deep into history. Some of the Horse Guard are marching because there are fewer horses than there are members. And I should say, as someone who tried out for the Horse Guard a few years ago, this is a very dedicated group, not just the people with the shovels. This is a very dedicated group. It takes months of drilling and practicing for them to learn to ride, to do the kinds of drills that they need to be able to do with their horses. No experience is required on horseback or in the military, but it does help. It turns out that many of the men who are part of the company have had previous military experience, while many of the women who come into the two companies are there mainly because they're interested in the horses and in having this ceremonial role. So, but they drill very hard for months and months. They spend time at the National Guard camp, Camp Rel, which I guess today becomes Camp Malloy. It's always named for the sitting governor. And they're quite dedicated people. They do it all on a volunteer basis, and they maintain the horses, their uniforms, and all of that. We're now going to tell you that the parade, I wanted you to just see a little bit more of it, the parade is going to be ending right in front of the Armory at a spot that's known as Minuteman Park. Minuteman Park was actually formed when the Park River in Hartford was put underground. Of course, the river used to run through the middle of Hartford. You're looking now at the 2nd Company Governor's Horse Guard. Again, a very old military unit. The 1st Company, I can tell you, I'm not sure about the 2nd Company, but the 1st Company, I can tell you, actually uses saddles that are left over from when the United States Army had a cavalry. They're very, very well preserved antique saddles, McClellan saddles, very dearly beloved to those members of the Horse Guard and cared for and nurtured. But their history goes way back, and they like to maintain some of that history in everything that they do. So there's a Horse Guard out of Avon and a Horse Guard out of Newington. As you can see,